thigh contusion the past couple of weeks. Thigh contusion. He also questioned the play calling in different parts of the season. He went Cam Newton business decision on an onside kick. Remember, he was on the hands team. His sole reason for being on the hands team is to go and get the football. He was on that hands team. Ball came right towards him, and he olayed it like Roger Dorn on a short hop in Major League. Well, early in the film, Roger Dorn. End of the year, Roger Dorn was taking bullets into the chest, right? That contract is a disaster. It's a disaster because Odell Beckham Jr. is exactly who we thought he was. Loves to be filmed catching balls in warmups, won't go after a ball when it's on the ground to help his team secure a win. Is that really the stuff of a guy who should be paid at the top level wide receiver or maybe above that of a wide receiver? The answer obviously is no. Right? He's a diva. He's a malcontent. He's everything we thought he was. And he simply fooled Giants management for 3 months, acting like he was some sort of great dude, great teammate, which he's not. Because if he was, he'd be playing this Sunday. Meanwhile, I saw this stat. Now, look, I think Saquon Barkley's good. Does anybody not think Saquon Barkley's good? No one thinks. Should you take him as the number 2 pick in the draft when you never select in the top 5? You need a quarterback. It's a quarterback-heavy draft, and the number 1 prospect at quarterback wasn't taken by the Cleveland Browns, and the team you share your stadium with trades 3 picks to get behind you. Well, apparently the answer is take a running back. Saquon Barkley, 2nd overall pick, is the first in the NFL with 6 runs of 40 yards or longer. That's a great stat, right? He is a home run hitter. The Giants are tied for last in the NFL with just 63 rushing first downs. When it comes to picking up first downs on the ground, the Giants are actually no better this year than they were last year when their running game was so bad they allegedly needed to spend a high first-round pick on a running back. Saquon Barkley is the Aaron Judge of the National Football League. Great home run hitter. But, dude, we need a guy who gets on base. We need singles and doubles. We need first downs. You win based upon first downs, not home run shots. And, oh, yeah, by the way, Darnold has been as good or even better than advertised in terms of his toughness, putting up with the fact he has a bad offensive line. He has marginal surrounding talent, and it's a wait till next year approach with a new coach and new teammates along the way. Oh, and if you'd been listening to the news, Justin Herbert, who, of course, the quarterback out of Oregon, likely to have been the first quarterback off the board, he decided, thanks, no thanks, I'm going to stay in school for another year. Based upon every big board you will see, Dwayne Haskins is likely to be the first quarterback taken, and Haskins is somewhere between the 15th and 25th best prospect. He won't go 15 to 25. He'll go top 5 because quarterbacks are overvalued, because they are, in fact, that valuable, more valuable than a running back. But the point is, last year you had a deep quarterback draft. You could have had the number 1 prospect on most everybody's board. You could have had an heir apparent to Eli Manning. And now you're so stuck, there is no real legit top prospect. And the news story is that Eli Manning would love to come back and play, and he's likely to remain the starter at least the beginning of next year. And this always works out well for the Giants, right? Remember Kerry Collins? No, actually, that didn't work out well. Kurt Warner, didn't work out that well. And this won't work out that well either, because there are no prospects for them to draft. But at least you have Odell Beckham Jr., who is playing through pain with all that money that he's. Oh wait, he's not. Here's the ironic thing, right? Would we all agree that the Colts kind of butchered when they had Andrew Luck, that they didn't give him a good enough offensive line, they didn't give him good enough skill position players, that ultimately that led to injury? Obviously, the snowboarding thing after the first injury made it worse. But we'd all think like the Colts. But remember, the Colts bid adieu to Peyton Manning when they had a chance, drafted a quarterback number 1 overall, And they were awarded with 33 wins in his first 3 years in an AFC championship game. Instead, the Giants are 500. They're okay. They're somewhere slightly below 500, and Eli Manning's going to be worse next year, and there's no real hope for the future. Because whoever they draft at quarterback, if it's Haskins, you're liable to pay too much for a guy who, truth be told, is not the level of prospect we saw coming out last year. He's just not. They screwed it up. From how they handled Eli, not last year. Last year, they actually handled it the right way. They actually said, hey, we got to get some other guys going here. We got to see what else we got. We got to plan for the future. That got the head coach fired. That got the general manager fired. Doing the right thing for the franchise's future. Doing the wrong thing, trying to protect Eli, playing him well past his prime. Like, look, this is, anyone who's ever gotten a piece of meat from the sale aisle sits there and goes like, man, I don't know. Should have been sold by yesterday. You take a chance, you take a chance. You open it up, you're like, it doesn't smell great, but it doesn't smell terrible. That's what the Giants are doing, throwing Eli out there for another season. But they're going to do it because there's no better options. And they screwed up taking Saquon Barkley, not because he's not a great home run hitter, but because that's not what you need. You can find a guy who hits singles and doubles in the second, third, fourth, and fifth round. Instead, congrats, you got a great home run hitter. There's never anybody on base. Never anybody on base to clear off those bases when he does hit a moonshot. All right, we got a great second hour for you here in the herd. Peter King is going to join us. We'll get his thoughts on Week 17. We'll get his thoughts on some of the interesting interviews that the Green Bay Packers have decided to conduct, including Chuck Pagano, former Colts head coach. Do you have any shot, or is that simply doing a solid by one of your guys? And got to talk about the games this weekend. From Baker going to Baltimore, to the Steelers playing at home in what feels like a game in which they should dominate, to the Vikings and Bears and Kirk Cousins trying to prove that forget all the yards and some of the touchdown passes. Can he win a game they have to win to get in the playoffs? And oh yeah, by the way, Andrew Luck and the Colts, and we'll get Peter's pick for MVP. But coming up next, Kyler Murray is a Heisman Trophy winner likely to play baseball, while skipping out on football is a mistake. I'll tell you next in the herd.